at the event of Investing in Adaptive and Resilient Future of Pakistan, and this event is organized by NDRMF. So we are having the CEO of NDRMF, Mr. BILAL ANWAR with us. Thank you so much for taking out time for us. You are having a busy routine today. If we talk about the resilient future and investment in adaptive future, how do you see it? What's the importance of it?
Well, in the specific context of Pakistan, I think this should be the most important thing which any person or any government or any policy maker, any development risk practitioner should be actually thinking about it. So what do we mean by that? So it has an element of investment, it has an element of adaptive, it has an element of resilience in it. So what we are saying is that anything which is funded, which is poured, any financial resources, human resources, capital resources, poured into the adaptation, which leads to the resilience, and that basically completes the loops that the resilience actually give you the returns, and that's why it's called the investments. So it's not really like any other public sector program or any development program, which are of course hugely important, but this is something which actually have the actual economic financial returns. They might not be happen next week or in 2 weeks or 2 years time, they might be happening in 20 years time, but I think given the importance of it, I think this is the time span we should be looking for.
Whether it is of days or whether it is of decades, it should be have some importance. So if we talk about the role of NDRMF in climate resistance, in disaster risk reduction, can you please shed light on the projects and the collaborative efforts with the stakeholders?
So NDRMF have this huge mandate or the strategic objective, which is basically building a resilience Pakistan. And that's a big ask. It's not something simple. It's not something easy to do. Pakistan is faced with a number of critical climatic challenges, disaster challenges, and in that context, this is a huge mandate which NDRMF is carrying on its head. What we're doing is how we have operationalized this mandate. So we invest into the critical kind of projects which are important, which are for the resilience, for the long-term resilience and sustainability of Pakistan and the economy of the Pakistan. They are important. We are investing into those projects. For example, the flood protection measures, early warning system, rescue 1122 services, watershed management, seismic proofing of public infrastructure, especially the school buildings and public health facilities. So these are some of the activities, some of the projects and interventions which we have done in the past, and which definitely have actually contributed, no matter how small, on a minuscule way, it has contributed to the resilience agenda of Pakistan.
Yeah.
But then the challenge is increasing, the challenge is exceedingly improving itself in terms of the threats and the hazards. And so what we believe, what we feel that we should have done a lot more than that. And but there was a number of resource constraints which didn't allow us to be that ambitious which we ought to be. But now we are moving ahead and we are actually reorienting ourselves and redefining ourselves to take up this agenda.
So you are working with public-private partnership. How do you see the role of public-private partnership, especially for the developing countries like Pakistan who are the victims of climate change? What's the importance of it?
First of all, I think we must recognize that there are limitations. Because when we say that, the public sector in Pakistan or kind of resourcefulness of the public sector in Pakistan is not that much, it's not that huge. So there are resource constraints. On the other side, the corporate sector is not very massive either. So the capital markets in Pakistan are deeply underdeveloped. The financial markets are underdeveloped as well.
Yeah.
So these are the limitations, these are the constraints in which we as an organization, as an entity which actually bring the public and private partnerships into action. We have to find our way, we have to navigate the way that how we address these challenges. So these are the constraints, but it doesn't really discount, it doesn't really take away the importance of it, because actually it enhances the importance of it, because we have the limitation on both sides. And so both sides actually have to collaborate with each other, they have to leverage each other's resources, and then kind of start working in a lot more coherent and coordinated fashion to address these challenges. So I think if we are talking about the kind of resilience agenda or addressing the climate change challenges or disaster challenges, the only viable feasible way is that the both sectors come together and they work in a coherent manner.
So when the both sectors are working together and working the climate change or disaster risk reduction, is there any element that you focus the most? Like, because I'm asking in context of sustainability. Are you focusing on the sustainability of projects as well? Because most of the time when we design a project in Pakistan, we don't focus on the sustainability aspect of it. So what are the sustainability elements you are focusing on for your public-private partnership?
We're definitely focusing on that, and there are several ways of doing it. Not only when we're designing a project, for example, in a remote area somewhere in Balochistan or Sindh or Punjab or KPK, then it's very difficult to bring the corporate sector or private sector into the action or into the play there, because they have their own kind of set of priorities. They don't want to work in the remote and vulnerable areas because it basically increases their threats and increases their risks. In that kind of a context, in those kind of regions, we work with the communities, and we make the communities, and again they are private sector, but in a small way. So private sector does not mean the big conglomerates or big corporate sector. They can be a set of or association of shopkeepers, for example, or anything like this. And in that context, we bring them a part of our project design, implementation, and construction and the building. In this way, they get the training and they get this sense of ownership and the sustainability component that actually is built into it. So that's a one way of doing it. Whereas when working on some projects which are in the urban centers, and where the corporate sector or the private sector basically see the direct benefit out of it, and they see the benefit, they see that they take the ownership of it. So I think there are ways and there are tools and mechanisms in which the sustainability component can be enhanced. And you are absolutely right that most of the time the project has a starting point, it has a finishing point, and then there is no kind of long-term viability component built into it.
But you are focusing on the participatory approach. If you are including people, they own that project and they take care of it as well.
Take care of it, yeah.
So basically, any message you want to give to the stakeholders, to the public, to the youth as well, because they can play an important role for the disaster risk reduction.
Yeah, I'll come to specifically to youth, but let me address the first part of your question first. NDRMF, we have expertise. We have worked on a number of projects, and we have kind of demonstrated the proof of concept through our experience, expertise, and the achievements and contributions we made. Now we are at the verge of a stage where we are actually repurposing and redesigning ourselves. And we want to work on large-scale projects. We want to work on a multi-sectoral, multi-thematic area projects, because that's what is needed. Let me give you an example. You can't address a drought in a region until we design a project in a multi-dimensional way, because it needs water, it needs agriculture, it needs education, nutrition, health, and the list goes on. So this is something which we are doing actually now. We are actually embarking ourselves to take those kind of projects on.
You have to redesign the strategies as well.
So this is our brand new strategic framework which we have developed, and we are just going to put it into action right now. Everyone has a role to play in it, but youth particularly, and because I think it's important that the youth don't really become disoriented with us, and with us being the practitioners like me, or the institutions like NDRMF, or the policymakers who are actually right under me. So the youth have to be engaged, they have to be educated, they have to be aware of these challenges, and they are worried, they are concerned, because their direct future is actually on the line at the threat. So they have all the valid reason to be worried and to be concerned. So in NDRMF we initiated this very specific exclusive program for youth. We just initiated the talent cultivation program, where we're taking quite a large number of actually students, advanced degree students on a paid internship basis, bring them into NDRMF, and we do the skill development for them. And that's one.
And make them research about such things. Because there's a loophole that we don't research about the problem. We don't know what is the problem and what are the underlying factors of it.
We don't.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And this actually, it doesn't really, stop at your and my level. It actually goes further down to when people are designing the project, when people are actually taking very hardcore decisions. Even at that stage, actually, research, or this popular phrase, informed-based decision or scientific-based decision. I think that gap is there, and at least in the area of climate change, climate action, and disaster risk financing, disaster risk management. We actually try to fill that gap in a small, little, humble way.
That's really good. Thank you so much for your time. So we are having Mr. Bilal Anwar with us. He is CEO NDRMF. Thank you so much.